Fam, it's Saturday night. I can't let a weekend go without any 49er activity, and you know this. I'm going to give all the glory to Tony, though. Tony, who just lost his monitor. Tony, your picture just shot out on me. Get that back on.
Yeah, hold on.
Anyway, Tony came up with this idea. I'm going to give him all the credit for it. Tony says, why don't we set up something where people can boldly come in and attempt to figure out who the final 53 on this roster will be standing in a few weeks. Who will win the honor to be a 49er? Do you know the war that's going out there in camp right now has got to be raging? Because, first of all, the competition is crazy rough. The 49ers must have, let's see, they invited 56 guys in. And these were after the undrafted free agents. They invited 56 more guys. Just to show you how serious the 49ers are about getting the best talents available. I'm not even talking about the guys that made the draft. I'm talking about, 56. There may be 100 more guys that they're looking at. You think this team ain't trying to win games next year? For anybody that thinks the 49ers are looking at the word rebuild and defining next year by losing games, man, are you in for a surprise. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, I don't think they can handle losing every week. So they're going in for the rebuild, but in as much as rebuild means changing things. Because they've thrown out how many guys already? This roster's been flipped in half. There's about 60 guys. It's over half, right? 60 guys have been unemployed from last year. And whose feelings are hurt about that? Goodbye, good riddance. Good Lord, you were awful. So, yeah. Tony's ready, even though he looks like he's busy, but Tony is ready. He's going to give you his 53-man roster, and then he's going to apply that to... And Tony, am I right in that order? You're going to give the roster first, and then you're going to give the scores of the games we're supposed to win and lose next year? All right. Tony, without any further ado... And by the way, you can get Tony on. You can question Tony about this a little later, as we'll have you. We'll take some of your questions. Be nice. I don't know why I say be nice. One thing I've learned about 49er fans in chat rooms, you guys are really nasty people, aren't you? But I love you. All right, Tony, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Tony, have at it, man.
So the biggest thing about putting together a 53-man roster is first you have a 90-man roster, and you have to find a way to get that down. And if you took every position, including like the slot wide receiver and the nickel corner, you'd have 23 positions plus 3 players on special teams. So that's 72 guys if you put 3 players in each position. So that's hard to do, to get a lot of these down to 2 and see where we need 3 players at certain positions. And another thing is a lot of the draft picks, they look like they can fit into the team, but then there's players who overrule them. So that makes it hard to do too. So it's a very underrated job. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
To do. Yeah. So first on offense for the quarterbacks, Brian Hoyer, obviously going to be our number 1. Matt Barkley, number 2, and CJ Beathard, number 3. I think that's probably the easiest position to see where the players go, because we didn't really do much. We got 1 quarterback. We just got an undrafted free agent, but I don't think he'll be in the offense at all. I think he'll be released. So enough about that.
I think his name is Mullen, right?
Yeah,
CJ quarterback. Yeah. He's the 4th guy. He's out. Yeah, you're right. I agree with that.
Yeah. So next for the running backs, I have Carlos Hyde as 1. He's a very underrated player, but he's been injured. That's why no one sees enough of him. Tim Hightower, I think he can bring a lot as a second back. He has experience. He went on the 2008 Super Bowl team with the Cardinals, if you guys didn't know that. So that also helps if we did end up making a playoff push, which I don't think we'll do this year. But
hey! What? All right, I just had to get that out of my system. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So then at our 3rd running back spot, I have Joe Williams. He was a 4th-round pick, I believe, but he played more like a late 2nd, early 3rd. Yeah. People didn't see enough of him. But if they didn't release DeJuan Harris, it would have been a lot harder to see out. Mike Davis, I knew was going to make the team from the get-go. He just fumbles the ball way too much.
Yes.
2 yards per carry. That's not very good.
Yeah. No matter how much you
Juwan
like
Harris,
him, Tyler. Yeah.
But what was I saying? Joe Williams, he's better than DeJuan Harris, but Harris has experience, so that's the only reason why I would consider putting him in. But he got released, and I was picking Joe Williams anyway, so enough about that.
Okay.
For the left wide receiver, so the receiver lining up on the left side, I have Pierre Garçon and Bruce Ellington. Now with Ellington, I'm not sure if he'll even make the team. He's talented enough, but I think he might get injured in my first.
Tony, time out.
No, in my first.
Wait. You put Bruce Ellington on the lineup? He's going to make the team?
Mm-hmm.
And you're concerned whether he's going to get hurt or not?
Well, last season he had a season-ending injury before the games even started.
Yeah.
So I'm worried that'll happen again because he's injury-prone.
Okay.
But I think he's still very talented.
True.
So he does deserve a spot on this team, but I don't think he'll be ready to go 100% for this upcoming year. So,
Right.
now for the right side, I have Marquise Goodwin. People were telling me that we should put him in the slot, but we shouldn't because he's not 5'9" like Jeremy Curley, but he's incredibly fast. He ran a 4.29 at the combine coming into the league. And I think he'll just burn people on the right side. Like, if you look at some of the positions, most of the good cornerbacks are on the left side. So right side, he'll be put with the number 2, number 3, maybe, and he'll just burn them. The only guy that I think can make up for that speed is Richard Sherman, but not by speed, but by his length.
Yeah.
If he gets a second of separation on Richard Sherman, I still think Sherman will be able to counter that. But he'll be on Pierre Garçon anyway, so I don't even know why I'm saying this.
Yeah. It's okay. I was getting ready to say something during that. I says, you know what? Sherman can't follow everybody. And I hope he does follow Pierre Goodwin. That would be awesome. That means everybody else is open.
Exactly. So for the second spot, I have Aldrick Robinson, of course, at the right wide receiver position. And there are a few guys that I was thinking could make the team that played last year, but they just signed him. I don't think they'll release him. He's a talented player. He just needs more reps, and he needs better guidance. He was with Julio Jones, who was 6 years into the league last year. But now you have Pierre Garçon, who played with Peyton Manning before he went down with that neck injury. So I think that's better for him in the long run, and that might be why he makes the team in the end, because he has the most upside, in my opinion. So yeah. Right. For the slot receiver, I have Jeremy Curley at 1. He's one of the best in the league right now, in my opinion, top 5. Now, there's guys like Edelman, overrule, but Jeremy Curley last year, he had such a good season, and it went unnoticed. I was watching a lot of top 10 plays of the season, and they didn't even show that catch of him on the sideline when he stretched every part of his body and then got blown to the ground by Byron Maxwell. I can't remember. I can't fathom why people wouldn't remember that. That was such a good play. So
you're right about the full extension. Hey, I do have a question. If I could interrupt by just a moment. Did you notice that Trent Taylor?
Yeah, he's my second guy.
All right. Look, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So he's my second guy, and he'll be a very good asset as a punt returner. He might play special teams, like during kickoffs or punts, if he's not playing returner. But I think he's a really good player, in my opinion. If he comes out without any injuries and he plays his hardest, he will be one of the better backups in the league at the slot position. He's just a really good weapon. You can put him in so many different schemes, and he'll respond positively. So that's why I have him on the roster as opposed to other guys who didn't make the roster.
And also, and I tell you what, also, since you've already put Bruce Ellington on the field, Now, should something happen to Bruce, and something will, then you've got Trent Taylor. So I like that. Okay. All right. Let's go. More.
So for left tackle, Joe Staley is obviously going to be there. I don't have to say anything about him.
True.
John Theus, he was on the team last year. He'll be the guy behind Joe Staley. And I think he'll become much better this year. I was watching him in preseason, and he was okay. But I think he'll be better this year because he was a rookie last year.
True.
So, yeah. So left guard, Zane Beadles. And the newly signed Brandon Fusco, I believe he came from the Vikings.
Yeah.
But Zane Beadles, he can play any position on the line. He played every single position last year on the line. And he's a really good guard. He's underrated. He did make a lot of mistakes, but most of the time he was a very good pass protector. If you look at most of the plays, they were on the right side because they were attacking Garnett and Trent Brown. So that's something to look out for. The left side of the line is going to be so much better this year.
And Aaron Donald hates him.
I know. Aaron Donald, I think he's a good guy, but he needs to mature. Last year got thrown out of the game for touching a referee and arguing with players.
I know.
I think he threw his helmet too.
Yeah, I know. He lost it. Completely lost it.
Yeah. But he's still very talented. I hope he doesn't get to Brian Hoyer that much.
Yeah.
So for the center, Jeremy Zuda, I think he takes over as the starting center for Daniel Kilgore. Kilgore, he's a good player, but he gets injured way too much, and we need a reliable guy. Zuda has been very consistent with the Ravens. We see the same game from him every single Sunday. And I think he's better. But no disrespect to Kilgore. He's great and all, but he gets injured way too much, and he leaves the team on a limb every single season.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Right guard, I have Joshua Garnett. I think he'll be much better this year. I wouldn't say it was disastrous, but it wasn't very good. His season last year, he gave up way too many sacks, way too many quarterback hurries. So I think he'll improve this year.
No, he was a rookie.
Exactly. And he's more of a run stopper or run blocker anyway. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah. So for the right guard, I have Evan Goodman. He was an undrafted free agent this year. And we don't really have many guards on the team, so I think he makes the team by default. Now, right tackle, Trent Brown. I think Gary Gilliam might be able to start at that position.
Oh!
But I have Trent Brown at number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gilliam took over for Brown. Because I think he's more polished than Brown, but Brown has a ton more upside. So if we can see that this year, then he's definitely better than Gilliam. But Gilliam, he was probably the best lineman last year for the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't know where to go with this, but in the end, I choose Trent Brown over Gary Gilliam.
All right.
But those two guys are still talented.
It will be a battle, though. You do see that coming. From what I understand, Gilliam is good in spaces as far as blocking, and Trent is probably better at pass protection than he is run blocking.
Exactly.
As far as the stats go. So I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can put Gilliam on the field first, maybe second down, and Trent Brown on the field second, maybe third down.
I know. They just don't shuttle offensive linemen like that. I wish they would, though. But we'll see.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
I wish they could treat them like running backs or defensive linemen where they have them play certain downs and they don't just have it generalized. I think it might be because the offensive line, you don't need as many players because they're bigger guys, not doing a ton of moves, and they're not getting injured as much.
Yeah. And also the fact, it comes down to the fact is the offensive line takes a while to get in sync. What a lot of people don't understand is an offensive line doesn't always, especially a new one, it takes more than one season for them to get completely in sync, know how to move left, right, with your guy next to you. It takes a little while to actually incorporate that. So when everybody starts screaming out, oh, offensive line stinks, we got to get some new offensive linemen, what you'll get is new offensive linemen have to go through what these guys have already went through. But go ahead.
Yeah. But I think it's good because last year, 4 of the guys on the line right now that are starting were on the team last year.
Good.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Zuda's not the guy, but I think they'll uh, collaborate and they'll become a much better line than people will make them out to be right now.
Yeah.
So it helps when you have all of your guys last year that were starting on the line this year.
Yep.
Even if Kilgore is a second guy, he's still on the team.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. That's it.
now
Yeah.
I have Vance McDonald. I think no question about it, he's the best tight end on the team. I don't get why the Niners re-signed him. Trent Baalke left the team and just re-signed him. I don't get it. That was money. He gets injured way too often, and he's so inconsistent. That's the only thing I don't like about him. He'll make great plays, but then he'll drop dimes. In 2015, when Kaepernick came in, actually, wait, yeah, it was 2015. He came in for 2 plays. He throws a dime to Vance McDonald, and he can't catch it. He drops it. And the
Yeah.
Panthers,
Oh, yeah, you talking about that play he came in for substitution when for Gabbert?
yeah, when they were putting him in the concussion protocol, I
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
it was against the Cardinals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Cap threw a dime, and he couldn't catch it.
yeah.
And same against the Panthers last season. He was on a roll, and then he drops a dime. That could have been another touchdown, and we could have won that game.
Yeah.
But enough complaining. George Kittle, he'll be the backup tight end. For me, when I was looking into the draft, I was hoping they would get him in the 3rd round because I didn't think he'd be there because he's that good of a player. But teams didn't see him, and he ended up falling to us in the 5th round. I was with Mike Mayock when he said he's the 5th best tight end in the draft. I was watching him before the draft, and he was just so polished. He didn't play very much, but you could see the talent was there. There's just certain players you just know what's going to happen with them. So, for the fullback, Kyle Juszczyk, he's going to be our starting fullback. You only really need one on the team because if he goes down, you can probably just substitute a running back for him. So I'm not worried about the fullback position. Plus, he doesn't get injured that much. Fullbacks only play on like 40% of the snaps, from what I know. So that's it for the offense. And
Right.
before I go on, I'll give you guys a few reasons why.
Hold on, I'm going to run that. Let me splash those offensive players up there first, real quickly. And
Okay.
if you're watching it, and I'm not gonna run it down to you. I'm gonna just go ahead and you take a look at that. As you can see, he's picked out all of my favorites. I tell you right now, man, I like that lineup. Oh yes, yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and continue with that D.
So before I get to the defense, I'll give all of the audience right now reasons why we had a bad offense. First reason was the hurry-up offense. I don't think the players were ready. They were so tired. I don't think they were very used to it. Chip Kelly's system I don't really like anyway.
Yeah.
So I know that hurt the team. And then the second reason, we didn't have a quarterback that we could rely on. Cap had a great year. Don't get me wrong. But he didn't play the first 5 games, and he wasn't spectacular. He was great, but not spectacular, and that's what we needed. And then receivers, when Jeremy Curley is your first receiver on the team, you have a pretty bad receiver core because he's not meant to be number 1.
Yeah, he's a
meant to
slot
be a free
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just like Edelman. So now for the defense. This was probably hard to do. In the beginning, I only had 22 guys making the team on defense because there were so many guys on offense that I had to include. But in the end, I evened it out. 25 guys are now on defense. And there's one guy in particular that I'm still iffy about, and I'll get to that later. But first, we have Eric Armstead as our first guy at left end. I think he'll improve this year. He hasn't played like a first-round pick. He's played more like a 3rd or 4th-round pick. But he's been asked to play way too much. That might be why. He's too tired. He gets sluggish sometimes.
But
So all the
I just like to say one thing about that. Remember, bad shoulder, really bad shoulder. An injury from high school that's been lingering, and last year, it was just went completely out. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. Now, Tank Carradine, I think he'll play behind him.
Oh,
I know you said it a lot. I think Nello said it a time or two. But Tank Carradine, he's going to be so much better this year. When he came out of Florida State, he was such a good 4-3 guy. He was just so talented. And then he went to Balky's system, completely different system. Um, and he fell apart. He wasn't playing like the guy they drafted him to be.
mm-hmm.
But now that he's back in his system, he'll be much better. He'll be a monster out there. Because now on the line, you have an extra guy as opposed to a linebacker who could be dropping in coverages. So now that the tackles on the inside are taking care of business with the guards in the center, he can do what he does best on the outside against the tackle.
Kill.
And he's quick too. He could play outside linebacker.
Yeah.
That's how quick he is. For the next end, left end, I have Ronald Blair. He had a pretty good rookie year last year for the time he played. I was impressed by him multiple times, but he could play on the right side depending on who gets injured. If anyone gets injured, I hope they don't, but it's inevitable. So now at the nose tackle position, Earl Mitchell, he'll be a great asset to the team. I don't think he's as good as Ian Williams, but good enough. We have 3 first-round picks in the last 3 years on that line, so I don't think that nose tackle position matters as much because we have Solomon Thomas on the inside and Armstead and Buckner on the outside, who I'll get to in a bit. So the nose tackle, they don't really have a ton of an impact when you have the guys on the end doing most of the work, but he will be somewhere or another throughout the season. Now for the next one, we have DJ Jones. He's a rookie, and I just don't think we have anyone else to back him up. It's placement by default again. So now at D tackle, Solomon Thomas and Quinton Dial.
Yeah.
I think they'll split reps. I'm not sure because Quinton Dial is a great player, but I think Solomon Thomas has so much more to prove, and I think they'll want to play him more, being he's the 3rd overall pick in this year's NFL draft. So that's my stance on that. For right end, I have DeForest Buckner. This guy, he played way too much last year, and he was still so productive. He didn't get very sluggish at all. He had, I believe, 6.5 sacks, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the best defensive lineman. He was better than Joey Bosa, who was crowned Defensive Player of the Year. But I think Buckner had a better season, given the situation he was put in.
Yes.
As well as the amount of time he played. He played way too much. I don't know what Chip Kelly was thinking. You can't put a rookie in there and expect him to play 55 minutes of the game out of 60.
And 1 million snaps in one season. That was ridiculous. Jim O'Neill. That's his fault, too. God.
Jim O'Neill, I think he might have some mental disabilities, and I'm not sure.
Agreed.
He just doesn't get it. I don't know why Chip Kelly chose him. He had more time than anyone else to pick a defensive coordinator. If Balky hadn't messed it up with Vic Fangio, then he would still be in there most likely.
But remember, he wanted the Texans. He wanted the Texans DC first, and the Texans DC did not want anything to do with Chip Kelly. Very smart man, and so he turned him down. O'Neill is Plan B. Yeah, O'Neill is Plan B, and that's why we had to put up with him and his read and react defense. Nobody can read or react to because they're rookies. God, the guy's an idiot. Okay.
Yeah. So to back up DeForest Buckner, I have Aaron Lynch. He'll probably play in the Leo. That's where John Lynch wants him. And I think if he gets enough touches or snaps, he'll have a breakout year. Because most of these guys that we drafted in the past are 4-3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron Lynch is perfect for the Leo.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know about the Leo, just look it up. It's an easy concept, but we probably don't have much time to go over that now. So, the left outside linebacker, I have Ahmad Brooks. And I'm not sure if he'll start this year, given how old he is. And we could have Reuben Foster starting for him anyway. So he's a good guy, good player, but I just think he's getting too old now, and he's making too many mistakes.
Yeah.
And back him up, I have Eli Harold. Now, I have Reuben Foster on the right side of these outside linebackers, but him and Eli Harold could easily switch depending on the situation. And Reuben Foster might even start if he doesn't have medical issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Tony,
inside
Tony,
linebacker,
so
NaVorro,
you are keeping Eli Harold.
I am.
And I just want, can you justify you're expecting what from him this year?
I'm expecting 3 sacks. I'm expecting a lot of production for the time he's playing. I think he's underrated, um, like a lot of these guys on this list, but that's what John Lynch is good at, finding underrated guys who they can get later.
Yeah.
But we've had Eli Harold, and I feel like he hasn't had much time
To
to
really
prove
develop.
himself, even
Yeah.
though he has started some games. I just don't think we've seen everything we can get from him.
And you're right too. He's another guy that comes over
Um,
from a 4-3 system and into a 3-4 and failed. So
exactly.
you could be right. He could be crazy good out in the 4-3. So yeah, you okay. All right.
I didn't know who he was when the 49ers drafted him
Yeah.
in 2014, I believe.
15.
Yeah, so
Yeah, 15.
I
16. Yeah.
like this guy after I saw the tape. He's a monster. He knows his position. But when you're playing with the worst defense in the league, it's really hard to communicate,
True.
especially when your leader is out.
Good point.
So um, for the inside linebacker, we only have one now. And I have NaVorro Bowman. Starting, it's a no-brainer. He's probably the best player on the team. He just needs to stay away from those injuries. That's why our defense wasn't as good as it should have been last year. We had a lot of guys go down, including um, Eric Reed. No.
Yeah, Ray Armstrong. You know him in the linebacker position, right?
Yeah, Ray.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Richard Robinson, he was injured for a short while too.
Yeah.
But behind NaVorro Bowman, this is what killed me. I mentioned this earlier when we got to the beginning of the defense. But I'm putting Brock Coyle behind Bowman. I'm hoping Ray makes the team. Like, I think he's better than Brock Coyle. But they just signed this guy to a deal, Brock Coyle. And I don't think they're going to give it up. But I feel like Ray is a better player. I'm just not sure if John Lynch will see that.
Yeah, but Tony, you know what though? They've also assembled a lot of these guys for what could be one of the best specialty teams in the league. I think some of these guys are special teams players, but you know, it's your call. But I kind of think some of these guys that are really good, like Brock Coyle, there's a few others too. They're going to be used on special teams because the 49ers have got to get back to having established one of the best special teams in the NFL like they used to. So we'll see though. Well, he's probably going to get a shot though.
Yeah, I think Coyle's definitely better on special teams. I was about to mention that. But
Okay.
Ray is a better player on the field, like in a defense, not on special teams. And I remember what you mean by the special teams. When we went to the Packers, I remember C.J. Spillman specifically. He made, I think it was Greg Jennings who was returning the punt, spill the ball.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Crash, boom, baby. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now for the right outside linebacker, Malcolm Smith. He'll play weak side on the weak side. So whichever position they choose to make that be, he'll be on the weak side. Because I don't think he's meant for coverages at all.
No, God no.
He's more of a yeah. He can't cover for his life.
Yeah.
Maybe he can cover a 300-pound tight end, but we don't really.
350 to be safe.
Yeah.
It's okay though, because don't run on Malcolm Smith. Do not try to run on him. That's what I love about him. That is, oh my God, he's good with that. So yeah.
So now, for the backup, it'll either be Eli Harold or Reuben Foster, depending on if Reuben Foster plays on the right side or the left side. But I don't think Reuben Foster will start this year, unless Ahmad Brooks has a terrible training camp. but he's also injured, so that's something to look out for. That's another reason why I don't think he'll be in there. And then to back those two guys up, I have Dakota Watson. I think he has a lot more to show than what he has in the past. I don't really have much else to say about him. So,
He's got a great physique. My God, that guy's got biceps on top of biceps. I think he's got muscles in his eyelids. The guy's a beast. Him and Eric Reed, man. I don't know. They must stand in the mirror and try to tease each other. All right, look at this, man. You can't do this. All right, hey, check this out. Check this out. Yeah, these guys are specimens. But Dakota Watson, you're right. But he's another guy that's going to be on special teams that's going to come downfield and kill people too. So,
a lot of the new guys we picked up will be special teamers. So
yeah.
something that people overlook a lot of the time. Because special teams, it's probably only in the game for a minute, 30 seconds, the whole entire game, with kicks and whatnot. So that's why people overlook it, but I do believe it's a third of the game. It's just as important as offense or defense.
God, yes.
Because that one play on special teams can change the game.
That's right.
So let's get to the secondary. This is what I'm happy about. We did some good work overall, so let's get right to it. The left side, for our cornerback, I have Dante Johnson. I think he'll be out of here next year or the year after.
Oh!
But we don't have Tremaine Brock. We need him in this defense, and he is a talented player. I just don't think we have room for him. Kello Witherspoon, I think, will eventually take over his job if he develops. Who is his backup right now?
Wait, Tony, I got confused on that. Where are you putting? You say Dante Johnson may not be on the team in the next couple of seasons, and then you mentioned Tremaine Brock. Why did you mention Tremaine Brock though?
Because Dante Johnson would be his backup right now. But
I see what you mean.
Tremaine Brock,
okay.
Now he's talented, but I just don't see room for him on the team. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
We have rookies coming in. We have Kawan Williams, who might be able to move to that left side.
Sure.
I just don't think we have room for him. He'll probably be better on another team anyway.
Okay.
So, like I just said, his backup is Kello Witherspoon. He's long and lanky. I like guys like that because if we play someone like Julio Jones, we get a tall tight end like Jimmy Graham. We need those tall guys to cover them down the field.
True.
So that's why I also like Rashard Robinson, who's on the right side. He only had one interception last year, but that was a big interception. It closed out the game. And he just had a great overall year. If he didn't get injured, I feel like he would have had 3 or 4 picks as opposed to 1. Because the teams we were playing when he got injured weren't as good as the other teams that he played when he wasn't injured. So keep that in mind going into this year. He should be our number 1. Dante Johnson might be, but Rashard Robinson right now, number 1. So behind Rashard, we have Kawan Williams, who isn't proven yet, but he's talented, and he had issues in Cleveland, so that's why he ended up getting released. Will Redmond, after that, injured all last year. He was injured coming into the draft, but if he can stay healthy, he'll be a great asset to the team. Now, he and Kawan Williams will play the nickel. I didn't put that on here because I feel like it was a waste of space. But those two guys will play in the nickel, definitely, when we need it.
All right.
And both will play in the dime. So there's a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of young guys on this defense. Definitely revamped. We were just terrible last season. And I'll get to that after I go through the safeties. So for strong safety, I have Eric Reed and Jaquaski Tart. They're set in those positions. I feel like Tart is very solid, but he does make mistakes at time, and he hasn't been given the opportunity to really show everything he has. So, and Eric Reed, this is his last year. I'm kind of done with him. He had a great rookie season, but after that, he just fell off. He hasn't been playing like he should be for an 18th overall pick. So,
concussions.
Enough said about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just said concussions. I don't know, Tony. If you've noticed, so I get the feeling that Eric Reed is playing cautiously a lot. There are sometimes in that last year we caught it. Eric Reed ran up and he had a guy in his crosshairs. He could have blew the guy out of the play, and he hit the brake. And that's when I first realized, they're right. Eric is playing cautiously because he cannot afford another concussion. Then he's gonna have to make a decision. So that's why he's a little bit of a liability. We'll see how he plays this year, though.
He has had a bad history with those things, but I think he needs to let everything loose. His job is on the line.
Yeah, true.
If he does get a concussion, he has a chance to come back to the Niners. If he doesn't and he plays cautiously, he doesn't have a chance of coming back to the Niners.
Yeah.
And some teams might not even want him as their starting safety, to be honest.
Yeah.
He hasn't played like he should be.
Yeah. God, poor Eric. I really worry about him because I don't know if he can play 100% because he's got to worry about his health. And at the same time, like you say, his job is pending now. There's got safeties out there that could take his job. And Hikutini only needs a couple of adjustments. And Eric all of a sudden could be in trouble. But yeah, you're right.
So now the free safeties, I have Jimmy Ward. This was his natural position coming out of college. I feel like Jim Harbaugh and Trent Baalke nailed this pick.
Yeah.
But he has too many self-inflicted injuries. No one ever injures him. He injures himself, which is a big thing. Because if you twist your ankle, if you twist your wrist, you're leaving the team vulnerable. And he's such a good player. They don't have room for great players like him on the team because they're counting on him. So if he can't stay healthy, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
So the last position on this defense, Adrian Colbert at free safety. Listen, he might not make the team. Vinny Sunseri might be able to make the team in front of him.
Whoa.
But I think that John Lynch isn't going to gamble on his draft picks. He knows what he wants. So that's why ultimately he beats out Don Jones and Vinny Sunseri in the safety race.
That's interesting reasoning, too. That Lynch is not going to embarrass himself by cutting his own pick. But he's a 7th rounder, though, Tony.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But you're right. There could be a competition.
The one guy that I do have the Niners cutting from the draft is Pita Talmapenu.
Oh!
And he's really good, but we don't have room for him on the team. I'm going to read some of these names down. Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, Tank Carradine, and Aaron Lynch. We don't have room for him. He might be able to take Ronald spot, but I think he's less talented than Blair.
But what about Ahmad Brooks and that huge salary? And Ahmad's not famous for his leadership. You mentioned him falling off in talent. You've got Jimmy Gilbert they just signed yesterday as well as another. They're looking for a real Leo-type body. If you got these guys, now you've got all the Leos in the world, and both of them are vicious coming off that edge.
I know, but Ronald Blair, he might get cut. I'm not certain on him, but I feel like he played well enough last year.
Yeah.
To where he can come in this year and be the good third string. But Pita, I don't have room for him.
Yeah. Okay.
We only have 50 spots between the offense and defense. He could make the team, but I think it's less likely than Ronald Blair making the team.
All right.
So I'm going to give everyone here 3 reasons why we had a historically bad defense last year. I mean, it was terrible. We would be putting up all these points, but we'd be losing by 20 and 30. I don't get it.
Yeah.
So for the first reason, I have Jim O'Neill. Like I said earlier, he might have mental disabilities. I really don't know what he was thinking. He was just so bad. I don't know why we even considered him. He's never getting a job again. I can guarantee you guys that right now.
Yeah, he's not working now.
Yep. So second reason, injuries. We had guys go down like Ray Armstrong, NaVorro Bowman, Rashard Robinson, Jimmy Ward. All these key guys that could be cornerstone players probably won't be anymore because they got injured and now they're not reliable. So, yeah. And then the third reason, Chip Kelly, his system was you play the offense for 10 minutes a game and then you leave the defense hanging for 50. Like the hurry-up offense, I know isn't that exaggerated, but the defense was playing way too much, and mostly because when he was in Philadelphia, his system worked because his team could get first downs. You had guys like Darren Sproles. You had Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy when he first got there. Those guys knew how to get first downs. Last year we didn't have an offense, so that hurry-up offense couldn't work. That system was garbage.
Yep. And don't forget, blame Trent Baalke for not giving him the assets he needed to get that offense to work too. I'm still pissed off about that. So,
Trent Baalke pretty much said, "I make the roster, you play with it," which I don't really like because the coach knows what he wants, what he can work with. So I don't get why the general manager has to take all the power and then suck at it at the same time.
Yeah.
He should have known the team wasn't going in the right direction under his guidance, so he should have let Jim Harbaugh do his job, and that was one of the biggest reasons why he left.
Yeah.
Got fired, but he really left. He didn't want to be with the team anymore.
And that's why
Tom Stula, he had good history with the team, but he was frustrated with Baalke, and Chip Kelly was frustrated with Baalke. So
and don't forget us. We were frustrated with Baalke. That's why his butt is gone now. God, he was awful.
2014, we weren't an 8-8 team. I feel like we were more of an 11-5 team.
Yeah.
But that draft that year, I knew something was wrong. Because we really weren't doing much at all.
Yeah.
All of our draft picks weren't showing up. We couldn't get any free agents because Trent Baalke is a built through the draft guy. I'm going to pride myself on how much money I save every year.
Yeah.
But then you drop it on meaningless players who don't have any impact on the team, for the most part. And then you're letting guys go. Kind of like the Browns the last few years. They bring in guys in the draft, way too many, and they don't show up, and they're letting all their proven players leave. That's what Trent Baalke was doing.
Sure.
And I'm kind of glad that happened,
Mm-hmm.
because now we had $100 million to work with this year, which was insane. And John Lynch knew how to spend that money right.
Yeah.
Trent Baalke is just an idiot overall.
Right.
I can't.
And Trent, and Tony, you left out the part where even with Trent, with all those draft picks, he was good at accumulating draft picks, he still pulled so players. He was okay on defense, not bad, but he couldn't.
And no offense.
No offense at all. He could not pull an offensive player to save his life. Hey, try to think of one good offensive player that Trent pulled in the last 3 seasons.
AJ Jenkins, obviously.
Okay, go. Not even including AJ Jenkins. That was the worst pick in NFL history. But try to name another. I'm trying to think of somebody else that's done a good job on offense that Trent picked. I can't think of any. Okay, Hyde. That's it.
But he's been injured so much.
Yeah, and then there's that. So, yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it, Garnett isn't proven yet. Brown isn't proven yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these guys. Maybe Bruce Ellington, but that's a so-so pick on offense.
He can't stay healthy.
Exactly.
Bruce has played up to 6 quarters, I think, the entire time total that he's been in San Francisco. So Bruce is on another. He's on another list of Baalke's misery. Yeah. Quentin Patton, lovely guy. You gotta love QP. He's a guy that flew into San Francisco unauthorized. And said, Quentin, you can't come here, man. You gotta get out of here. You know, he's a great guy, but he's not that good.
Yeah. Quentin Patton, I was impressed with him in 2014. I saw him very rarely, but when I did see him, I was impressed.
Yeah.
But then 15 and 16, he was missing balls. He wasn't running his routes correctly. Mm-hmm. And the few touchdowns he had were like wide open. There's one against the Jets, I believe.
All by himself. Tony, I'm gonna flash your defense up right now so people can get a look at that.
All right.
All right. So there's the D. Yeah. Eric Armstead, Tank Carradine, Ronald Blair. Like that. Earl Mitchell and DJ Jones. And I was thinking the same thing about DJ Jones. He's the only feasible guy we got to back up Earl Mitchell. If you want a big, beefy guy, because he goes 312, he's 6 foot tall. You know, one of those fire plug type of guys that are hard to move out. I love Buckner and Aaron Lynch and Ahmad Brooks, Eli Harrell. And, of course, Solomon Thomas, of course, is going to make the team. He's a first-round draft pick. You know, it's a good lineup. Good, all right. And
ready to go into the special teams?
Yeah, you got special teams. Okay. You got okay, well, yeah, go ahead. How many guys you got on your special teams that are different from the guys that are playing?
3 guys.
Okay.
3 guys.
Oh, yeah, those guys. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, kick returner and punt returner are also in there, but they're not new players. Like, they're not designated returners, so let's get right into it. For the long snapper position, we have Kyle Nelson. I think he's one of the best in the league. Long snapper is a very underrated position. because you have to get the ball to the punter so that he can either place the ball for the kicker or punt the ball. And if you don't get it right, you can screw up the whole play, and that can lead to disaster.
Big.
So I don't see him mess up at all. I haven't seen a time where he messed up. It was usually the punter,
Mm.
which doesn't happen very much for us. We just um, couldn't kick field goals. Phil Dawson, he was good, but he couldn't kick anything farther than 53 yards. That was my only
That's a
issue with
long
him.
way, though, Tony. 53-yard field goals. That's not bad, though.
It isn't bad. He was incredibly accurate, but I don't think 53 is going to cut it. If you are at, let's say, the 40-yard line, you need a Justin Tucker who can kick a 57, 58-yard field goal to end the game.
True.
That's why the Ravens score so many field goals,
Yeah.
because they have Justin Tucker. He's one of the best in the game. He can
Yeah.
kick a 62.
No doubt about that.
So kicker, we have Robbie Gould. I think Nick Rose will get cut, even though we had him as a reserve. Rashad Ross also gets cut, even though he was a reserve in January that we picked up. We only have room for one kicker on the team. We need that extra spot for other guys. Robbie Gould, he is so inconsistent. He reminds me of a right-footed, more polished David Akers when he had his curse put upon him.
And remember, we beat Chicago because of Robbie Gould 2 seasons ago.
It was like a 30-yard field goal, and he failed. And then Torrey Smith with that 80-yard touchdown. That was one game to watch. But Robbie Gould, I can't even speak anymore about
No,
him.
I'm really worried about that. And we don't. Who do you back him up? I've always worried if you lose your kicker. I mean, he could fall down in the parking lot and break something. I don't know. What are you going to do? Is there somebody else on the team that can kick? So it's a scary position. Oh yeah, the
and
punter.
maybe Solomon Thomas, because you know how in
Oh yeah.
kick. Maybe Solomon Thomas can come in with a big leg.
Yeah, I heard about
He did play
that.
soccer for a short while, so.
No, I heard he can kick though. I did hear about. I tried. I heard about that. All right.
So let's put him at number 3 for now. But Bradley Pinion, he'll be our starting punter. We used a 5th-round draft pick on him a few years ago. He will be the second-string kicker if the time comes, but kickers don't get injured.
No, they're not supposed to.
Unless it's inflicted, they're running off the field and they trip on themselves. That's the only way.
Hey, but
they
Tony,
really
remember the year before last, remember the 49ers were like, the offense was coming off the field so fast that Pena was out of the field every 5 or 10 minutes, right? At one point, remember that time when he was so tired that his leg was just hanging, and Phil Dawson had to come in and do the punting duties. I was mad, but I had to laugh. I've never seen anything like that in my life. The punter was actually worn out before the half. Unbelievable.
Well, he was a rookie, and when you're punting that much, punters aren't supposed to punt more than 3 or 4 times a game. In a good game, 3 to 4 times is where you aim for. When you're punting 6 times in one half, you're obviously not going to take it well.
It was funny. He was walking on the sidelines. I think he had ice on his hips. I mean, it's good Lord. They've killed Pinion. So, yeah. Well, we'll see. None of that this year, though. We're past that stuff, so he'll be okay. You're right.
Yeah. So now for kick returner, I think Jeremy Curley will be the kick returner. Now, I didn't put this on the list I gave you. I just added him, but Bruce Ellington, he will be another kick returner. The reason why I don't have him starting is because I don't know if he's going to be healthy. I'm not even sure if he'll make the team if he's not healthy. He'll be put on the
He's not
PUP
gonna,
list.
he's not going to make it. I'm telling you. He's not making it, Tony. Ellington will be out. I said, what is this? We're in May right now? Bruce Ellington will be either on a team or at home, wrapped up. Did you see the film of his highlight reel? They had Bruce Ellington highlights. They had Bruce walking around the sidelines with an ice pack on his shoulder. That was his highlight. The man is just ridiculous. He cannot stay healthy. Bruce gets hurt in the shower room before the game starts. I mean, the guy's ridiculous. God, he's scary. His cousin is the same way over in Arizona. He's out last season for the season. It's a DNA thing with the Ellingtons. So, you know.
Yeah, and another guy, Reggie Bush, I'm not sure who's worse. You have the most injured squad in NFL history. We could put him, we could put Bruce Ellington at running back and play like a Ty Montgomery role. Wouldn't really happen. but anything can happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right.
punt returner, this is Curly's spot. This is where he did very well last year. Taking out the play when Aaron Burbridge ran into him, who I have cut in the roster this year.
And for that reason, right?
The dude's backing up. Jeremy Curley's in place, and they just collide.
I saw that. It was
Now,
just another one of those added frustrations of the year 2016. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's it. We have Trent Taylor backing up Jeremy Curley. The slot guys will play punt returner, in my opinion. But that's a 53-man roster right there.
All right.
Another good stat: 27 players on this roster altogether, not just the starters, but every single player on this roster that I have. Only 27 of them were on the team last year.
Wow.
26 are new, which tells you a lot about what John Lynch is doing and how bad our team was last year.
Oh, that's a show in itself. How bad was the team last season? We could go on and on about that. There'd be a lot of angry people because we remind me of certain moments and why I like Mike Davis being cut. Thank you very much. That fumble on the 1 yard line, I will never forget as long as I live. Okay. Anyway, let's okay. Take a look at the special teams on the screen right now. Have we done that already? Okay. Okay. There's a few questions. So Hell wants to know. Aldrick Robinson not making it really. It's a Kyle guy. He knows the system. You didn't say anything about Aldrick not making the team, though, did you?
I'm not sure if he's gotten cut yet. I don't think he has. But we need guys that know the system now. Because Shanahan's system, it takes more than a year to learn. Probably 2 years to learn. And if he already knows the system, then we need to put him on the team.
Yeah, Aldrick Robinson. Yes. Yeah, so hell, no, Aldrick Robinson wasn't cut, and I can pretty much assure you, Aldrick Robinson is not going to get cut. All right, well, let's go. Travis Merlot says, "Who will be the sack leader of your many tough guys on that front line, or even linebackers? What do you think?"
No, no, I don't think anyone else knows this, but before I just gave the wins and losses, I had all the stats and everything and how well the players would do, how many interceptions, fumbles, yards, all that each player would have for each team.
Yeah.
And in the end, I calculated that DeForest Buckner will have 11.5 sacks, Solomon Thomas will have 9 sacks, and Armstead will have 7.5. So those are the team leaders. So DeForest Buckner, if that answers your question,
Yeah.
11.5.
I like that. And I'm glad you didn't give all those stats because we'll answer those by questions since you've got all that information. So if you have any information on those kind of stats, fire away. He also wants to know, who would you extend contracts to between Reed, Hyde, and Lynch? Wow, what a question. Woo, man, I had to think about that. I'd have to go to bed and wake up, have a couple of sandwiches. Man, I'd have a little trouble thinking that. What are you going to do with that, Tony? Hyde.
Carlos Hyde, and it's not easy, but Aaron Lynch and Eric Reed, they have to prove themselves this year, or else they're out of a job.
All right.
In San Francisco.
Yeah.
Or Santa Clara, rather. Carlos Hyde does get injured, but he's consistent when he's on the field. He's a very good back. When he's healthy, he could be a top 5 back in the league. That's how good he is, and that's how much he impacts the team. But he's injured a lot. That's the only thing that would make me not want to sign him again. But he definitely deserves the extension more than the other 2 guys.
There you go. And I agree with Tony. I tell you, Carlos is... Man, that's going to be interesting to see. Carlos has got to prove himself this year, though, Tony. Also, let's get Kenneth Heights' question. I saw Kenneth Heights. Kenny Heights says, what do you think will happen with Ahmad Brooks? Which is pretty much what I asked you a little while ago, too, because you got rid of the PETA guy. And as I said, Jimmy Gilbert is just another guy that just signed up. That's another monster coming off the edge. It's a tough decision to make. Your sentiments get involved. We've had him on for a while. He still has some leadership qualities. He's got that dog in him that some of those younger guys should learn from. But what do you think?
I think he'll be out in the next year or 2, just like I said with Dante Johnson. And I think they'll put Peta on the practice squad because I think he does have he will have an important role on the team if they decide to keep him. but they need to get Brooks out of there. I think he's getting old. He's getting worse.
Yeah.
But he's just so passionate. That's the only thing
Yeah.
that I'm worried
True.
about. But we
Yeah.
have other guys on the team who might be just as passionate.
Yeah.
Um, so I think Peter will make the practice squad, and Ahmad Brooks will be out in the next year or two, and then we'll move Peter back up if we don't solve it by then.
Right. And also, Tony, have you ever thought about this? I keep thinking about what if we would have kept Marcus Rush? Marcus Rush, he's the ultimate consummate Leo. He can't stop the run. But if you cut him loose on a passing play, the quarterback is in serious trouble. But last year, they put him on the practice squad, left it convenient for Jacksonville, and said, "Oh, there's Marcus Rush, get him!" And we lost Marcus Rush, and everybody was kind of upset about that. But this is the thing about putting Pete on there. I got a feeling he'd be taken from us too. But like you say, there's other outside linebackers, so maybe it's no big deal.
I don't think it is. He had some spectacular moments, but he's a one-dimensional guy. Teams learn how to stop him.
Yeah.
He isn't anything in this league.
Yeah.
And he had legal issues. That's what ultimately led to his release, from what I understand.
Marcus Rush?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
But did he have legal issues? Tony, can you really briefly tell me what were they?
I'm not sure here. I'll look it up right now.
No, don't do
I
that.
remember reading. Are you sure?
Just drop me a link on that later. We'll talk about that later offline, because I had no idea that he looked squeaky clean to me. I thought he was okay. I got another question here for you. Sahel has also, he wants to know. I want to ask you all a question. Which player would you take? Earl Thomas, Chancellor, or Sherman for Salah? Man, Earl Thomas, Chancellor. Say it again.
Who was the second guy? I got Earl Thomas and Sherman.
I guess he's talking about Cam Chancellor or Sherman.
Oh, okay. This is a hard one. Because we have a lot of young guys at all these positions that will end up making impacts on the team.
In the future, right.
Yeah, but I feel like we already have our Richard Sherman.
Two of them.
In Rashard Robinson. I feel like free safety, Jimmy Ward, if he stays healthy, he'll be out of this world. So I end up taking Bam Bam Cam out of all those players because I remember watching a game 2 years ago. It was Calvin Johnson running to the end zone on Monday Night Football, and at the half-yard line, Cam Chancellor punches the ball out. Those are the types of plays we need. Plays that can change the game, save the game, and really enforce the game in a sense, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Chance, he's a game changer. That's what you call those kind of guys. That is a game changer. Chance has always been like that too. So yeah.
He went 0-2 without him, and he was such a big factor of that team. And when Earl Thomas went down last year, he was a huge factor too.
Yeah.
I think safety is underrated in this league. If you don't have a good one or a good pair, you're not going to go all the way.
Suffer. You will, because that's how you get exploited. All right. Also, your thoughts on Beathard or draft a quarterback next year? Because everybody, Tony, everybody goes through this every year. Next year's quarterbacks, that's what we're going to do. They said this last year, and they even said that this class was going to be superior to last year's quarterback class. And this year comes and not one of, and at least there was two guys last year. This year, not one of these guys was rated worth your first round pick. And I just don't understand it. I look forward to happening again next year, too. What are you thinking?
Well, I think this class is better than the 2014 class that gave us Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like those guys, I think this class will be better. So I feel like if Beathard doesn't have a good year, he'll get cut. If Barkley ends up going in as a backup and he doesn't do very well, he might get cut, but Beathard has the biggest chance of getting cut. And I do think we'll draft someone next year. And they can win under Brian Hoyer for a year, and then they'll come in the next year, and they'll be our quarterback if they don't end up being a bust.
All right.
That's where I'm at. I don't get why we had 3 quarterbacks go in the first 12 spots this year. They're not worth that much.
He was talking about carrying 4 at one point. You're right. There's going to be 3. Okay, who will get the starting cornerback starts? I think we already mentioned that. Because I think you answered that question earlier. Darrell Walden, I believe it's going to be Rashard Robinson and Dante Johnson. Aren't those your two starters?
Yeah, and then Kawan Williams will be the first nickel guy. So those are the three main guys that the team will look to. Um, Rashard Robinson, he's an extra Richard Sherman. I don't care what anyone else says.
Yeah.
He has the size, he has the ability. So let's make it happen. I think he can do it. And Dante Johnson, he's been on the team for a while now, so I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, this is his year to make his impression. He's going to make one. And also, you got to remember, too, now, if last year was Rashard Robinson's rookie year, he was just getting used to the speed. People don't know it, but Rashard Robinson's going to put on a show this year. All right, Robert says, who's the third running back? Hightower, Bibbs, or Breda? Woo! Like these questions, man. Go ahead, T. You got it, man.
I don't think any of those will be the third guy. I think all those guys get cut except for Tim Hightower. He'll be number 2, and Joe Williams will be number 3. So.
And also, your mom says, I don't know anyone that loves football more than you do.
Yeah.
I think Tony's grin. One of Tony's friends on Instagram says, Tony, you still got that ridiculous smile. I couldn't stop laughing. I said, what does that mean? You're going to take a shot at your boy on Instagram like that. I like your smile, Tony. Panama Queen says, will hot dog hands Vance McDonald be cut?
No, he won't be. He's really inconsistent, but we don't really have a choice. We could either wait till next year when free agency hits, or the draft is probably our better bet, but he's the only guy we have right now that can really change a game, but he needs to be more consistent. They need to work on that. They need to throw him 100 balls in practice, like twice every day, so that he learns not to drop the ball, because that's his biggest issue.
Yeah, honestly though, I thought he was the most consistent as far as catching the ball last year that we had. Besides Jeremy Curley, anybody not named Jeremy Curley, it was Vance McDonald who pretty much had the most touchdowns next to Curley last season. He had the most receptions. Some of the passes that were thrown to him were a little hot. I mean, those passes that you're 5 feet away and Cap would hit you with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I used to laugh because I'd say, I would come back to the hut. I'd say, Cap, I'm right here. Pull a string on some of the passes. I'd have told him. But I guess those guys I'm an NFL receiver and I'm supposed to be able to handle it. Yeah.
Catch those balls. You have a lot of gunslingers like that in the league, so I don't get why it's such an issue now.
Yeah.
A lot of the balls he had, most of the ones he caught were down the field, 10 or more yards, and he was 50-50 at best on those balls.
Yeah.
He had 2 or 3 great plays against the Panthers, and then he dropped one and killed the game.
Yeah, that one he finally missed that one that would have won the game. You're right. All right. Let's see. Hey, Tony. You know what? Okay, go ahead. Finish that thought.
He drops all these dimes that come to him, but then he makes some spectacular catch, and you're thinking to yourself, can this guy just become consistent?
Yeah.
I'd rather him drop the harder balls to catch and catch the dimes.
Yeah.
But he just isn't programmed that way.
Yeah, it's true. But I tell you what, over Van Selleck, I'll take him. And also, Belldozer showed me he has no hands too. So of the lesser evils. But you know what? Kittle's got hands. This is going to be interesting because Kittle's going to be out there versus McDonald. So it could be an interesting situation with and then also they got the guy Paulson. So there's a few guys out there that could take Hikutini. We don't know about him. So
No. Only McDonald and Kittle will make the team. Like, it'll be hard, but all these guys that you're mentioning, I don't think they're worth a spot. Logan Paulson might be the only free agent that doesn't make the team because we don't need him. Kittle is more talented.
True. How many tight ends? How many tight ends are you keeping though?
2. We need
only 2.
Yeah, we need more players elsewhere on the roster. But that doesn't mean we won't bring someone up from the practice squad if something happens to maybe Bruce Ellington.
That's true. Tony, you know what? We better get on your wins and losses. Go ahead and run those down.
So week 1, we're playing Carolina at home. Most people are saying that this is Carolina's year. They have off years and then they have great years.
Always.
But they're not beating us at home. In the first week, we haven't lost a season opener since 2008 and a home opener since 2010, I believe. And it's not going to end now. We have a better team than last year. So I say the final score is 31-21. And at the half, the Niners lead 14-3. So, wait, no, they trail 14-3. And then the third quarter, they get 3 touchdowns, which leads to their victory altogether.
I like that. Drama in the game, first game. All right.
Yeah, so overall record right now, 1-0 through the first week. So for week 2, we're playing in Seattle. We're getting closer and closer every single year. But this game, week 2, isn't the time. We usually lose our second game. It's been a tradition for a long time now. So I don't think it'll end today, or not today, in that week. So Seahawks overcome us 23-16 with a game-winning touchdown pass from Russell Wilson at the 2-minute warning, around the 2-minute warning. So this game isn't it, but you'll see what they do later. So
Okay, all right.
right now is 1-1. Now we head to LA. We're playing LA at home, and we beat them by 2 touchdowns. First 2-1 start since 2012, I believe.
Okay.
2011 to 2012. So we have 24 points in the first half. So we end up holding out. We win by 2 touchdowns against St. Louis. We're not going to get swept by them this season. We never do.
You mean Arizona? I make the same mistake. You're talking about the Cardinals, right?
I'm talking about
the Rams.
Right
You're still
now.
on the Rams. Okay.
Week 3. So our record 2-1. So now week 4, we're playing at the Cardinals. And 30-13, it's a bad loss. David Johnson has 180 yards and 2 touchdowns altogether. He'll torch us this game, but not the next game we play them. I'll get to that when I get to week 9.
Okay.
But he's going to torch us, and we'll learn how to cover him and whatnot by then. So we'll be fine. They'll stop him. So in week 9. Week 5, we have 49ers at the Colts. And the game, yeah, that's going to be a big game for him. I have him listed at 150 yards and a touchdown.
Frank?
Yeah, Frank.
Maybe. They're not going to tackle him.
I don't know, but he's going to blow through our defensive line. He wants the 49ers to know they made a mistake letting him go. I personally don't think we should have let him go, but then we wouldn't have Carlos Hyde. So it's a bit conflicting, but through the third quarter, we're tied up at 14. But then the Colts, they get 2 touchdowns, miss a PAT, so they win 27-17. And our record right now is 2-3. We're going into a slump.
Yeah.
So now we head into week 6. This game is really interesting. This was probably the game I focused on the most. First, I had the 49ers winning 31-13. Then I realized our defense isn't that good to stop guys like Jordan Reed, Terrell Pryor. So then I had Washington beating the 49ers. I think it was 27-14, but that didn't seem realistic. So now I have Washington beating us 27-24, but they led 24-3 at the half. So we got 3 touchdowns in a row, spanning from the third to the fourth quarter, and then they take a bunch of time toward the end of the fourth, and they get a last-second field goal, sadly. So we lose 27-24. We go 2-4. But I think week 7 is really when we start to turn it up. We don't win. We're against the Cowboys, but it is close. And there's losing 29-26. And
Tony, try that again, because you're using a remote system. It died on you. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that was good. That's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we lose unfortunately, but this is where we start to turn everything up. It gets huge for us. We start building momentum. So I think at this time we'll be 5-1, and through the first 3 quarters, they'll have a 26-10 lead. But then the 49ers really pump it in the fourth quarter, which is something that I think we'll see a lot this year. Last year we had great first and fourth quarters, but we couldn't play in the second and third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year we'll have a better second half than first half, as opposed to the ends of the game being so much better than the middle.
Hmm.
Like I said, it'll be 26-10 Cowboys through 3 quarters, and then the Niners 2 touchdowns with the conversions, and they get to overtime. And this is where it gets real. The 49ers, I know this is a lot, but I don't think many people will remember this, but they elect to receive interception. Cowboys win with a field goal.
Oh.
So
And that's a home game too, so that's going to be a noisy, angry crowd. So yeah.
Exactly. But we play very well in this game, and that's why week 8 we end up beating the Eagles, who might be a playoff team next year. Lane Johnson isn't suspended. Carson Wentz will try to prove himself. They got Torrey Smith, Alshon Jeffrey. Their offense is going to be very good this year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to be enough for how much our defense will bring to the table. We beat them 26-24, and the 49ers have 17 fourth quarter points. They really turn it up.
Right.
And Philadelphia has 21 points in the first half.
All right.
That's telling you a lot about how much our team isn't going to give up this year like they did last year.
Yeah.
Guys like Antoine Bethea were saying, like, I know we're not going to win, but I just want to wait until I go home. We don't really have to try because we're not good enough. That was the attitude last year, but the mentality this year will be the game's never over until
It's over.
the end of the game.
Yeah. All right.
We go 3-5, week 9. This is what I love. This was probably my favorite thing to put stats on. I know no one will see it. But we beat Arizona 28-24, and they have 17 first half points, and we have nothing. Okay, second half, 28 points. I don't know what else to say. We beat them 28-24. They have a lucky field goal. They can't come back and win the game, so we go 4-5. This is where the league starts to say, hold up, this team might actually be a contender this year if they can win enough games. Because really, in the NFC, you only need to get 9 wins. We've seen teams like the Panthers and the Falcons go, and they have losing records. So you really don't need much. I know it was a division, but still, the AFC is so much stronger than the NFC right now. But we do have some teams on the rise. So week 10, we're playing the Giants at home. Our momentum, unfortunately, just goes down the drain. 31-16. We score in every quarter, but the New York Giants and Evan Ingram, they're going to tear us up. I don't think we have enough guys to defend that. Assuming they send LeGarrette Blount, who they're very high on, it might not happen. They still have Paul Perkins, who might be able to do well. They have one of the best guards in the game in Justin Pugh. They have one of the best centers, Weston Richburg. So that side of the line will do a lot. They have Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, like I said, and they have Eli Manning. So it will be enough. 1-16. We lose 4-6. Week 11 is a bye week, and this week is huge in the game because you see some teams come off and they have like a terrible season after the bye week, or they come out and they surprise the world, they shock the world. Shanahan will be huge in this process because he knows how to get these guys back into it after being out for 2 weeks. John Lynch will be hard on the team. So week 12 comes, 49ers win against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know a lot of you don't think this is possible.
I do.
If you look at the years, 42-13, 29-3. We have 23-16, I think, Then we have 25-23 last year.
Should have won
This
that
year,
game.
we win
Yeah.
24-22, and the 49ers have a lead the whole game. They have a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Seattle can only get a touchdown. They can't get the field goal. Stephen Hauschka's gone. Blair Walsh is going to miss some field goal again. I don't know how long, but that's what I think. Now we're 5-6. This is serious. We're like the Bucks a few years ago. We are ready. We can get there, but toward the end, we don't get there, and you guys will see why. Our schedule gets much tougher. Now, week 13, the Bears, at this point, I think they'll be around 2-11, 3-10, or 2-10, 3-9, around that point. But they beat us. I don't know what else to say. They want revenge. I know we're at Soldier Field. That's where we play the best against them.
Oh, God. Not Bears. Ah, God. And they keep making us go to Chicago every year. It's unfair. God.
I know.
It's cold. And the worst time of year, too. The dead of winter. Dang. All right.
I know it's hard to grasp, but I think we will lose. I know their roster doesn't match up to our roster.
It won't it won't be because of Mitchell Trubisky, will it?
No, I know. It won't be. He'll play like an average quarterback.
Yeah.
But there's one guy, his last name is Meredith. I don't remember his first name, but he will be a big player in this game. I say he has 2 touchdowns, 120 yards, something like that. And not to mention, their run game is going to be so much better with Jordan Howard just killing us.
Oh.
He brings a different element to the game that I haven't really seen like this much of before. So ultimately, we lose this game. 27-23. We go 5-7, and
we're competitive.
We go on a losing streak from here. Yeah. Week 14, we're playing the Texans in Houston. Not a chance. Their defense is too good. Their offense is going to be so much better. I believe they will get Nuke Hopkins involved. Deshaun Watson might be the starter by then, and I feel like he doesn't lose to bad teams. That's one thing I do respect about him. He doesn't lose to bad teams.
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, from what I've seen. Like, maybe here and there he might have a bad game, but if he has the players around him, he won't lose against a really bad team.
And that's us, huh? The really bad team.
Compared to Houston.
Well, yeah.
J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, right?
Yeah, I agree. Their defense is just off the hook, really. And if J.J. Watt's going to return to a defense that's already lethal, I'm really worried about that. I counted the Texans as a loss, too. So, yeah, go ahead. I agree.
31-7. 21 first quarter points by Houston, including a pick six. And toward the end of the game, they get a fumble recovery and they score a touchdown. So the offense won't be a huge factor, but the defense is going to be so big in this game. Ton of sacks. Good enough. Clowney tore the field last year. Imagine what J.J. Watt is going to do this year.
In combination with Clowney. That's right.
It might be one of the greatest defenses of all time.
I know. I saw that. Last year I said, good Lord. That's okay. Next year we will be drafting more offensive weapons like I wanted to this year, and then we'll fix that. But go ahead.
Yeah, look at the scheme. That's what we are going to do.
Yeah.
So we go 5-8. Terrible performance in Houston. Get back home, play the Titans. They beat us 28-13.
Oh.
Now, we didn't turn over the ball, but we couldn't get the ball moving. So ultimately, they just have a stronger team. Their offense is better. Their defense is about the same from where I look. So 28-13. It wasn't really hard to me to pick this game. They very much will have a great chance at being a playoff team this year. They should have gone last year.
Yeah.
I feel like they were better than the Texans because their offense couldn't do anything. Tennessee was the opposite. They could do something, and their defense was okay. So,
right.
Yeah, so we go 5-9 at this point. So week 16, 35-20, we beat Jacksonville. I don't think they're a team that will stand in our way. Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns, they'll have a good game, but it won't be enough to put out the 28 second quarter points by the 49ers.
And remember, they've got Blake Bortles. Any team that has Blake Bortles, the other team's definitely in the race. Oh, God, the guy's awful. So, yeah. Oh,
I know. But his offensive line is horrendous, so I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. He's not worth a third overall pick, maybe a third round pick, but not third overall.
True.
So 28-7 at the half, 28 second quarter points, and then we ultimately just shut them out. They get 13 points in the second half, but that's not going to help you come back from a 21-point deficit, added on to the fact that the 49ers get another touchdown. So really, they only beat us by 6 that half, and they're not overcoming the wrath that we set upon them. So 6-9. The final week of the year. Can the 49ers beat the Rams? I say no. And I'll tell you why. They are improved. Jared Goff will be better than last year. He was put into a situation where he shouldn't have been put in. Sean McVay, much better coach in my opinion than Fisher. Fisher is good with all these trick plays, but he can't coach the game itself.
Yeah.
That's what kills me.
True.
Like, he can pull stuff from the middle every single game. He can beat Peyton Manning in his best year.
True.
The year after best year. But he can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And he's terrible at picking players as well. Les Snead and him together, it might be worse than Trent Baalke.
My God, that's an insult. That's good, Tony. I like that. You want to call somebody a name? Call him Trent Baalke. That's it. There's nothing more insulting than that.
Yeah, I agree. So, LA beats us 28-19. We have an even game. We just couldn't put up enough points. They have an even game. They score a touchdown every quarter. We score a touchdown in the first quarter and a field goal in every quarter, including the first quarter. So 28-19. Final record is 6-10. And honestly, I'm happy we went 6-10. I wouldn't want to have an 8-8 year because then we'd be giving up 4 or 5 spots in the draft.
Tony, listen. One thing. I just want to say one thing about that though. The draft. You know who drafted? Let's say we fall down to the 10th spot, and a draft that was as rich as this past season. Everybody's worried about our position too, but we still did great. I think that's overrated about being your ranking in the draft board because you can get great picks at number 5, 4, and what if Myles Garrett is a bust? That means Cleveland with the number 1 overall pick. And what if our guy outplays him? Solomon Thomas has a better year. These things are hard to predict.
Well, the Browns have the worst roster in the league, 1. 2, we had the worst roster last year, in my opinion. We were worse than the Browns.
True.
Glad we didn't have to play them. I know that's a lot, but we were worse.
Yeah.
He comes in this year, John Lynch, and he makes us an average team. Now I want more draft capital. He did a great job of this year, getting capital, moving up and down the board, and netting us more in the future. But 6 spots in the draft is huge.
Yeah, true.
Because if you're 16 or 10, you can get 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, like those picks, and maybe a good player or another pick next year. So,
all right, but I got to tell you though, Tony, look out for the Rams might still be the property of the San Francisco 49ers, but we'll see. All right, Tony, real quick, are there any questions? Any questions? Everybody pretty much okay. So, and you know what's funny? A lot of people agree with not doing too well this season. You know what? In fact, you made a lot of those scores. Okay, Michael Atlanta says, last time I checked, Bears don't have a receiver or a decent running back. They got a pretty decent running back, though, Mike. Last year, he was number 2, I think. Wasn't he, Tony? What's that guy's name? The Bears running back? Did Tony screen lock up?
He's... Hello?
Yeah, no, I still hear you. You mentioned...
Hello?
We lost our sound quality. Okay.
Ty should have taken his spot in the bubble.
Oh, Tony, go ahead. You're on. I can hear you though. Can you hear me?
Now I
Okay.
can.
Okay. Go ahead.
But
Give me that. Give me
um,
the Bears running back.
yeah,
Okay.
he's gonna be the same in my opinion.
Okay, give me a
I
sec.
know 28 doesn't seem like something. Upsets are big in this game, and they happen a lot. So
All right. All right.
maybe
Anyway,
they should do last year.
okay, guys, I think we're losing juice here. I tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to end the show now. So I want to thank Tony for doing an awesome job. And you know what? The only thing is, I hope our games are. I didn't hear him do any blowouts. We didn't get beaten to death. This is the thing. Hopefully. Oh yeah, Tony has a projected record with 6-10 total offense. We will be 15th, which is a whole lot better than last year. And yards per game, 345.3. Rushing will be 8th. Passing will be 20th. Scoring offense, 10th. That's dang good. Total defense will be 17th in yards allowed per game, 355.2. I'd like to see that a little lower because that means our offense is a little below our defensive giveaway. Sacks will rank at 18th. That's a big jump, too, because we were not stopping anybody's quarterbacks. That means there's a little more expectation from Tony as far as the pass rush goes. Turnovers will be 10th on that, and scoring defense, 16th. These are all top 20 numbers. Tony, good job, buddy. I like it. So, and by the way, now I'll mention this to you now. Here's what you're going to do. Now, if you would like to put yourself in Tony's seat, you need to know it's a little work. Now, if you're going to come up with a 53-man roster, you might want to start on that as soon as possible. You give us a 53-man roster, and also you got to predict the scores of each and every game, and we'll talk. So drop me a line, Ronbo Sports at gmail.com. That's Ronbo Sports at gmail.com. Ronbo Sports at gmail.com. You go ahead and send me that note. We'll talk. I'll probably ask you a couple questions like, do you know the difference between a football and a baseball? And if you answer that question correctly, I'm liable to say, okay, we'll see what you got. Give me your stuff, right? Now, you can vote for Tony right now, by the way. Go ahead and go to the app. You'll see it there. Agree or disagree, and then Tony will find out how you feel about what he just did. I thought he was awesome. All right? So anyway, hey, tomorrow, fan gathering. Sunday, we'll get together 7 p.m. as we did today. 7 p.m. is pretty much my favorite time. You know what I mean? I got dinner and all that stuff. I got to go out and walk the dog. Well, I'm sorry. I got to walk my cat, okay? I was just embarrassed because nobody walks their cat. Okay. Anyway, tomorrow, 7 p.m., I'll see you then, all right? And Tony, thank you for an awesome job, man. Yeah.
You're welcome. One more thing.
Oh, there's your sound. Good. Go ahead.
You said you hoped there were no blowouts. We do have one against the Texans, 31.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But they're awfully good defensively, so I can accept that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And with that said, I bet I could ask Tony to join me on this because he's not a loud guy. But me, I'm a loud guy. I'll do this.